My name is Ariana, and I'm 31 years old. 2 years ago, my grandmother died, and she left me 3 properties that changed everything about how I see the world and how I move through it. She was the smartest woman I ever knew, and the last thing she said to me before the cancer took her was, "Money doesn't just change what people give you, Ariana. It changes what they think they can take. Keep your mouth shut and watch how they treat you when they believe you have nothing." I took her at her word. The brownstone in the city is worth about $890,000 right now. The beach cottage she bought in 1978 for $32,000 is paid off and sits on a bluff overlooking the Atlantic. On a clear day, you can see the curve of the shoreline for miles. And then there's the little rental duplex 3 blocks from the university that brings in $2,400 a month after taxes and management fees. Together, they throw off more than $40,000 a year in passive income, plus equity that keeps climbing. I never told a soul. Not my friends, not my coworkers, not even Steven, the man I married after 2 years of dating. Steven and I met at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was 28, worked in IT security, made $72,000 a year, and lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with a futon and a single houseplant that was somehow still alive. I liked that he split the check on the first date and didn't make a big deal about it. I liked that he asked questions about my job as a graphic designer instead of launching into his own resume. For 8 months, we were just 2 people figuring each other out. Then it became 2 years. And one evening, he got down on one knee in the park where we had our first kiss and asked me to marry him with a ring that cost 3 months of his salary. I said yes because I loved him and because I thought love was enough. His mother, Diane, was the first red flag I chose to ignore. Diane is the kind of woman who keeps a spreadsheet of every birthday and anniversary in the family and sends passive-aggressive text reminders 2 weeks in advance. From the moment Steven introduced us, she started taking inventory. "So, Ariana, what do your parents do? Do you own your apartment or rent? Any family money coming your way someday?" She said it with a bright smile, like she was just making conversation, but her eyes were doing math. I answered vaguely, the way Grandma taught me. "We get by. Nothing exciting. My parents are comfortable." She never quite believed me. The wedding was small. We paid for most of it ourselves. Steven and I combined our savings, booked a community center with string lights, and hired a food truck instead of a caterer. His parents gave $3,000 and made sure everyone knew it. My parents gave $5,000 and said nothing about it, which somehow made Diane even more irritated. During planning, she kept dropping little comments. "That dress is so simple. Is that the final choice? The venue feels intimate, doesn't it? Almost like you're trying to save money. Can you two really afford the honeymoon? Cabo is expensive." I smiled every time and said, "We're keeping things within our means." She nodded like she'd won a point. The night before the wedding, Diane cornered me in the hallway of the venue while I was trying on my veil. "Steven mentioned your grandmother passed recently," she said, voice honey sweet. "Did she leave you anything? Anything at all?" I looked her straight in the eye and said, "She left me her love, Diane. That's all I need." She laughed like I'd told a joke, but the laugh didn't reach her eyes. The wedding itself was perfect in its smallness. My dad walked me down the aisle to a playlist we made together. Steven cried when he saw me. We danced under fairy lights while the food truck tacos got cold. At the end of the night, when everyone had left and we were back in our little apartment, Steven pulled me close on the couch and said, "My mom asked me something weird last week. She wanted to know if you had any inheritance coming. I told her I didn't think so." He shrugged. "She's just protective." I kept my face neutral. "She's something," I said, and kissed him so he wouldn't see the anger flickering behind my eyes. A week after the ceremony, on a Tuesday morning, the doorbell rang while I was still in my robe drinking coffee. Steven had left for work an hour earlier. I opened the door, and there was Diane, standing on the welcome mat in a navy blazer and pearls, holding a manila folder and flanked by a man in a cheap suit carrying a notary stamp. "Morning, darling," she said, breezy as a summer day. "We need to have a little family talk." I didn't invite them in. I stood in the doorway like a gatekeeper. She didn't wait for permission. "Stephen told me you two don't have a prenup. That's fine, water under the bridge. But now that you're married, it's time to protect him. I've had my lawyer draw up a postnuptial agreement. Very standard. Anything either of you owned before the marriage stays separate. Anything acquired after is joint. Simple, fair. Sign here and we'll get it notarized right now." The notary gave me an apologetic half-smile. I could see the papers. Clauses about inheritance, real property, future gifts, everything worded to funnel assets towards Stephen in case of divorce. Diane had done her homework. I felt Grandma's voice in my head. "Keep your mouth shut and watch." So I smiled the same smile I'd used throughout the wedding planning. "Diane, that's thoughtful of you, but Stephen and I haven't discussed this. I'd like to talk to my husband first." Her smile tightened. "He's already on board. He said whatever makes me happy. We can do this now and surprise him with the peace of mind." I leaned against the doorframe. "Then he can come home tonight and we'll all discuss it together. I don't sign anything without reading every word, and I certainly don't sign anything when my husband isn't present. That's not how we do things in our marriage." The notary shifted his weight. Diane's cheeks went pink. "Ariana, sweetheart, you're being difficult. This is for the family." "I'm being cautious," I said. "There's a difference." She left the folder on the welcome table anyway. "Read it. Think about your future. Think about Stephen's future." That night, Stephen came home exhausted from a server migration. I waited until he'd eaten dinner and we were on the couch when I slid the folder across the coffee table. "Your mother came by today." He opened it, scanned the first page, and went very still. "What?" he said. "She brought a notary. She said you were on board." He closed the folder like it had teeth. "I never said that. I told her we were fine the way we are." I watched his face carefully. "Are we fine, Stephen?" He looked up at me, and for the first time I saw the calculation behind his eyes, the same calculation I'd seen in Diane's. "Babe, it's just paperwork. It doesn't change anything between us. My mom's just... she worries." "She worries about your share of my grandmother's estate, you mean?" The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. He tried to laugh it off. "What estate? You said there was nothing." I stood up. "I never said there was nothing. I said my grandmother left me her love. That was true. She also left me 3 properties worth well over $1 million and a steady rental income. I didn't tell you because Grandma warned me what happens when people know." Stephen's mouth opened, closed. "You lied to me?" I omitted. There's a difference. He stood too. "All this time I've been busting my ass at a job I hate, paying for half the rent, half the groceries, while you're sitting on a beach house and a brownstone, and you never thought to mention it?" I thought about it every day. I watched your mother ask about my finances like she was pricing livestock. I watched her criticize our wedding because it wasn't expensive enough. I watched you tell her I had no inheritance coming and you didn't correct her. So no, I didn't mention it. He ran both hands through his hair. "This is insane. We're married. What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. Except that's not what the papers your mother brought say. The papers say what was mine before the wedding stays mine, but only if I sign my right to fight for it later. Convenient." He reached for me. I stepped back. "Stephen, I love you, but I don't trust your mother, and right now I'm not sure I trust you." The next weeks were a slow-motion car crash. Diane called every day. Stephen started sleeping on the couch. Friends who had been at the wedding suddenly asked pointed questions about how we were doing financially. I realized Diane had been talking. The rental property got a surprise inspection from the city. Someone had anonymously reported code violations. The Brownstones insurance company received a tip that the roof was damaged. Little things, all of them. I hired my own lawyer, the same one who handled Grandma's estate. We drew up ironclad documents, a postnuptial agreement that actually protected both of us, but with clauses that any attempt to pressure or harass would trigger immediate separation of assets and attorney fees paid by the aggressor. I presented it to Stephen one evening in the kitchen. "Sign this," I said, "or we file for divorce tomorrow. Your choice." He read it for a long time. "You'd really throw us away over money?" he said. "No," I told him. "I'd throw us away over the fact that your family sees me as an ATM with a pulse. I'd throw us away because you let them. I kept quiet because I wanted to know if you loved me when you thought I had nothing. Turns out the answer is complicated." He signed. Diane screamed when she found out. She tried to get Stephen to fight it, but he'd finally seen the version of his mother that I'd been watching the whole time. We separated 6 months later. The divorce was quiet. I kept my 3 homes, Stephen kept his pride, and a lesson I hope he remembers. I work because I like design, not because I have to. I date when I feel like it, and I never, ever lead with money. Sometimes I sit on the cottage porch at sunset and think about Grandma. She was right. Money changes how people see you. But silence? Silence shows you who they really are. And I'm never going quiet again.